Welcome to the STEM Pathways podcast, where we delve into the fascinating world of science, technology, engineering, and math. I'm your host, Rohan Sharma, a passionate explorer of all things STEM. Each episode, we bring you captivating stories, cutting edge research, and inspiring interviews with experts and enthusiasts who are pushing the boundaries of innovation. Whether you're a student, a professional, or just curious about how the world works, join us as we unlock the mysteries of the universe and explore the endless possibilities of STEM. Let's get started. Today, I'll be interviewing Julia Nojeim, who holds a master's in environmental management, industrial ecology, and green chemistry from Yale. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me on the podcast. So to get started, I wanted to ask you what motivated you to get your degree in college in environmental studies, engineering, and math.
Yeah, I would say from a very early age, I was interested in the environment. I grew up in a coastal town in Massachusetts, so kind of having that environment around me and seeing water pollution and seeing like environmental degradation and wanting to protect the environment that I lived in really prompted me to want to study the environment. I've also always been a person who wanted to learn a little bit about a lot of things. I pride myself on being a systems thinker and not thinking in just one specific realm, but thinking how different topics interact with one another. So my environmental studies major covered policy and economics, both internationally and domestically. And then I wanted to kind of supplement a more technical background as well, which is why I did the minors in engineering and mathematics and economics that came along with that.
Yeah. So what was your experience like in college?
My experience is very positive. I went to a school called Fairfield University in Fairfield, Connecticut. Go Stags. And I absolutely loved my 4 years there. It's a small liberal arts school that also has programs in engineering and in business, which is something I was looking for when I was looking at different schools. I really wanted that kind of liberal arts and technical skills combination. That was something that I really sought out. So I like that Fairfield gave me the opportunity to experiment and learn in all those different topics and sectors. That was, yeah, a lot of opportunity for me.
Yeah. So what made you want to go ahead and get a master's?
Yeah, so as I was entering my senior year of undergrad, I was looking at jobs that were available, and I was noticing that there were a lot of jobs available in very specific sectors, like energy and water and food and agriculture. And I felt like I wasn't fully ready to specialize in one area yet. I still wanted to be a generalist. And so that prompted me to want to get more education to kind of continue to figure out what field I wanted to specialize in, or to learn more about what roles are possible in the environmental space as a generalist. So I applied to a bunch of jobs. I also applied to a bunch of graduate programs. I was very fortunate to be accepted into the Yale School of the Environment and their program in a master's in environmental management.
Yeah. So what was your experience like while getting your master's?
Yeah, also very positive. I think, I mean, I got my master's during a very tumultuous time in the world during the pandemic. But even throughout that, what really kind of set my experience apart, I would say, is the community aspect of the school. All of the people there are extremely passionate and driven and optimistic about kind of leaving their mark on the world in a positive way and finding solutions to environmental problems. And it was really interesting for me, coming from my background in Massachusetts, to meet individuals from Alaska, Malaysia, India, California, all over the world, and hear kind of like what your first question was of how did you kind of get involved in this, or what made you interested in studying the environment. And just hearing people's background stories was really inspiring. So I would say that kind of inspiration and community was really encouraging and helpful, because a master's program is very difficult, and a lot of work goes into it, and a lot of time goes into it. But kind of the people around me really reinforced me, and reinforced my interest in why I was doing this, and really helped me to learn about things that I didn't know of before, and prompt me to want to study things beyond what my kind of interests going into the master's program were. So I learned a lot about critical materials and mining, and learned a lot about salmon habitats, and about water quality, and hydroponic farms, and a lot of things that I never would have seen myself studying potentially, but just learning that from my colleagues and my classmates was really, really inspirational for me.
So where do you work now?
Yeah, so I still, after I finished my master's, I was very fortunate that as I was leaving, a job at the School of the Environment was opening up for a center or a department that I had worked in as I was a student. So it's called the Yale Center for Business and the Environment. We're a small but mighty group of about 15 people who kind of work at the intersection of business and the environment. So, every environmental issue that involves business, finance, sustainability, environmental and social governance, policies involving market incentives, and clean energy kind of policy and market as well. And we like to say that we're optimists taking action. So we find ways to kind of stay positive and keep chipping away at these big global problems that can be very daunting. But having a group of very determined and kind and passionate people helps out a lot. And we like to compare ourselves to beavers a lot, and kind of working in the environment around us, affecting it in positive ways upstream and downstream. We're very kind of group oriented. We love collaboration. So we partner with numerous individuals and groups across campus, and in industry and utilities and nonprofits as well, to kind of bring as many beavers to the dam as possible, to solve problems together.
Yeah. So what would you say the biggest environmental issue is that we're facing right now?
Ooh, a great question. Yeah. I mean, there are a lot to choose from, and I think one thread that kind of ties them all together is environmental communication, or kind of lack thereof. So in a lot of industries, whether it's big oil compared to renewables development, or kind of chemical factories compared to green chemistry, or the creation of harmless molecules from the beginning, which is what I studied in grad school. I think a lot needs to be said for communicating in different states and different countries, the importance of doing not only what is good for the environment and planet, but what is good for humans and our species that we cohabitate this world with. So, I mean, there's a lot of funding and politics behind these systems that have been in place for many decades, like oil and chemicals, and it's definitely been an uphill climb to work kind of in sharing the importance of doing a more environmentally friendly and healthy practices of clean energy, of green chemistry, of industrial ecology, thinking as a system that one system's waste is another system's feedstock. So kind of shifting that mindset and communicating why it's crucial and getting that messaging across in ways that people from all different backgrounds, political beliefs, experiences, buy into it and continue to see its importance is kind of a very broad way of saying all environmental issues are big, but I think starting with environmental communication and training people to be better environmental communicators and activists is important.
What would you say that someone who's still in high school or still like early in college who isn't going into an environmental major could be doing to help support the environment?
Yeah, I would say getting educated is probably the best thing to do, and reading. So there's no shortage of content, and whether it's data or written articles about the environmental issues that we face out there in the world. So thinking of a couple, like Heat Map News is really good. David Roberts's Volts podcast and newsletter is great. And the Yale program on climate change communication as well are just all fantastic resources that even if you spend anywhere from 5 to 60 minutes a week, you can learn a lot. And I think one of the best ways to be an environmental activist, whether you're in this field or not, is just by taking action and learning and being aware of the choices that you make. So anything from being vegetarian a couple more days a week to taking a bus instead of driving a car, or using a bike for transportation. Anything from those levels, every little bit counts. And it might not seem like it all adds up, but the more people that start doing this, especially ones who aren't necessarily studying this, everybody can have a positive environmental impact, because everybody in the world, no matter what, is having an environmental impact every day, just by existing. So just taking small actions, being educated, and kind of reading and learning as you go. Those are important things, I would say. Yeah. And also, I would say kind of every course of study and pretty much every job role in some way is related to the environment. It might not seem like it if you're, I don't know, working for a consulting firm with, I don't know, building management, but buildings are part of the built environment. They use energy, they use water. So really any job that you find yourself in, whether you did or did not specialize in environmental studies, you're going to interact with the environment in many ways. And so just having that kind of baseline awareness and understanding is something that can help impact your decisions personally as well as at your job. And yeah, like I said, every little bit helps.
Um, Talking a little specifically about the meat topic, I was curious, are there more sustainable ways to get meat?
Yeah, so a lot is being done, at least at Yale and other institutions as well, in developing protein from alternative sources, such as, for example, insects or algae, seaweed. There are many different ways to kind of crack the nut that is your lab grown meat or more sustainable meat production. And yeah, so I think it's something. I'm not as much an expert on that, but yeah, that's a field that has seen a lot of growth both in kind of technology and in market share as well, which is really cool. I mean, now you go to a grocery store and you see an Impossible Burger or a Beyond Burger. That's pretty standard, I would say. So just the progress that we've made so far coming towards this pseudo meat is really impressive.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone still in high school or early in college who wants to go into the same field as you?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, listen to this podcast. What I was going to recommend is just look at the people around you and the organizations around you, whether it's in your family or your friend group or your town, your city, your county, township, or et cetera, and kind of see what either environmental organizations or individuals are there. I would say people are generally pretty happy to talk about their experiences, especially people in the environmental field that really recognize that it takes all of us and that we need as many helpers as we can to kind of make this transition to a more sustainable and clean world and environmentally just world. So people are very open to not only sharing their experiences, but sharing ways to get involved. I know the local lands trust where I'm from always has volunteer days for high schoolers and even elementary school students to clean up a community garden or a walking path, or do a plant identification tour. So just finding ways to kind of get involved in your local environment and meet people and groups that are environmentally focused is something really helpful when you're trying to either solidify that you want to go into an environmental studies program in college, or if you're trying to figure out whether you have more of a passion for energy versus birding versus soil health, things like that. Yeah.
I was wondering, as far as activism goes, I'm guessing a much larger part of global warming and all these environmental issues are corporations more than individual people. Would you say activism is also like an extremely important part of fighting all of this?
Absolutely. Yes. Activism, awareness, also just kind of sharing what you've learned with those who are kind of older than you or who are in corporations, that whether they're part of a big problem or a smaller part of a problem, kind of you can be an activist in many ways. So, as we go on, I've found that schools and high schools and middle schools and elementary schools are doing a better job of kind of teaching the importance of sustainability and of environmental protection than they did many decades ago, when the individuals who were leading these corporations went through these grades. So just sharing what as a high school student with those who are working at organizations, like something to share at the dinner table or something to share in a LinkedIn post, or at a town hall meeting where some environmental kind of discussion is happening. Those are all forms of activism as well, just kind of sharing the importance and the urgency of what's happening to the world, and how we all have a part in it as individuals and as individuals in a larger group setting that is either a corporation or organization, as a member of a group in a town, and just this broader world as well.
Yeah. All right then. Thanks for meeting with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a blast. And yeah, I'd encourage you to, shameless promotion, but to check out the Center for Business and the Environment's website. We have a lot of public events and some articles as well, published by students that might be of great interest. So that's a great place to learn about the environment as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.